Aviation is an incredible and advanced field. The strides we have made over the last century cannot be understated. Still, things have gone wrong and terrible accidents have occurred, with some even remaining unsolved to this day. From an aircraft that went missing while on mission to fly around the world, to a military plane en route to northern Africa that disappeared with nuclear materials on board. Here are 5 more of the greatest unsolved aviation mysteries. On June 1st, 1937, Amelia Earhart and Fred Noonan, 2 of the most prominent figures in aviation history, took off aboard a Lockheed Electra from Miami to embark on a challenging flight around the world. Nearly a month later, they had completed the first 22,000 miles of their trip and had another 7,000 to go. On June 29th, they arrived at Lae, New Guinea, which would unfortunately be the last time they were seen. On July 2nd, they took off once again in their heavily loaded Electra for the next leg of their journey. They were headed toward Howland Island, a small strip of land in the ocean about 2,000 miles away. Around 5 p.m. that same day, Earhart reported her altitude as 7,000 feet and her speed as 150 knots. Their last known location report was near the Nukumanu Islands, about 800 miles into the flight. But they likely continued onwards. At 8:43 a.m. the following day, her last transmission was heard from Howland Island. What happened next is still an unsolved mystery to this day. What ended up happening to them is heavily disputed, with many different theories out there. Although, the most popular and likely outcome is that Earhart and Noonan's plane eventually ran out of fuel. This, however, seems hard to believe, considering that these 2 were highly experienced aviators, and because it is known how much fuel they had on board. Some crazier theories claim that Earhart was a secret agent of the US government who ended up being captured by the Japanese for attempting to spy on their island. There is even another more popular theory in which it is believed that both aviators landed on the uninhabited island of Niku-Mamaro. There have been many searches, even as recently as 2017, but nothing concrete has been found to back up the claim. The search and rescue efforts that followed the disappearance ended up becoming the most expensive aerial and maritime search in the history of the United States up to that time. And despite this, it would end up yielding 0 results. On March 10, 1956, after taking off from MacDill Air Force Base, Florida, USA, a Boeing B-47E Stratojet bound for Ben Guerir AB Airport in Morocco never reached its destination. Its disappearance caused a great commotion in the United States, as it resulted not only in the loss of human lives, but of 2 capsules containing nuclear weapons materials. Materials that, in the wrong hands, could have unleashed misery on the world, and which may still be hidden among us today. Not only did the B-47E have an excellent crew at its command, but it had the ability to quickly cross the Atlantic Ocean. The aircraft was scheduled to make 2 aerial refueling stops along the way, and made its first one without incident. As the aircraft was preparing to make its second aerial refueling just 90 miles southwest of Oran, the B-47E stopped transmitting, ceasing all communications. What is strange about this event is that not only was there no distress call, but also no sign of the wreckage has ever been found. Although the cores did not have the potential to cause a nuclear explosion since they were separated in different carrying containers, their disappearance was not only costly but extremely dangerous, as it could have led to a major catastrophe. While there are some eyewitness reports of seeing the B-47E explode in the air near the coast of the Algerian-Moroccan border, and testimonies from people that an explosion occurred off the southeastern coast of Spain, the mystery remains unsolved. Pan Am Flight 7 was an around-the-world flight that was a top-of-the-line luxury back in 1957. The aircraft would stop in multiple cities over several days and allowed passengers to book extended sleepovers in any city along the way. On November 8, 1957, Pan Am Flight 7 left San Francisco on a journey to Honolulu, Hawaii. The pilot was supposed to make routine position reports along the way, with his final one coming in at 5:04 p.m., approximately 5.5 hours after takeoff. His next report was expected at 6 p.m., but when that message never came, people began to get worried. Finally, at 8:11 p.m., the Coast Guard dispatched the first search planes. After an extensive and expensive search, a Navy search plane located the wreckage in the water about 900 miles away from Honolulu. An investigation ensued which pretty quickly ruled out the possibility of an in-flight explosion. Investigators then looked into whether or not any of the cargo could have caused the plane to go down, but that too was soon ruled out. One of the more extreme theories is that a passenger purchased a life insurance policy before the flight and intentionally caused it to go down. In the end, investigators determined that they could not give a concrete explanation for the crash. It was November 24, 1971, the day before Thanksgiving, when a strange man purchased a flight ticket for Northwest Orient Airlines Flight 305, which would take him from Portland, Oregon to Seattle, Washington. What none of the people who let him board the plane knew was that the man, known as D.B. Cooper, would end up taking all the passengers hostage. The event caused quite a stir in the United States, both because of the hijacking and the fate of the hijacker. After the plane took off, Cooper handed one of the stewardesses a note claiming to have a bomb in his briefcase, which he showed her, full of wires, a timer, and red sticks. What was supposed to be a pleasant ride would turn out to be a terrifying experience for the 36 passengers on board. Cooper's demands were quite specific. He wanted 4 parachutes and $200,000 in $20 bills, which would be the equivalent of $1.2 million at the turn of the century. He let the 36 passengers leave the plane once it landed in Seattle in exchange for receiving the money along with the parachutes. However, the journey of terror would not end there, as a flight engineer, 2 pilots, and a stewardess were forced to stay on board to fly the man to Mexico City. He ordered that the plane be flown below 10,000 feet and at a slower speed. At around 8 p.m., Cooper lowered the steps and jumped from the plane, never to be seen again. This would begin one of the longest and most exhaustive investigations in FBI history. The agency suspected that Cooper was a professional paratrooper who had served in the military and who knew the area very well. However, if that had been the case, it is clear that he would never have decided to jump in winds that exceeded 200 miles per hour. Some even speculate it's unlikely that he survived the fall at all. Throughout the years, there have been numerous potential suspects and potential leads, all of which were soon abandoned. In 1980, a boy found money in the woods which had serial numbers that matched that of the ransom money. An investigation ensued, and this too led to no further information. Finally, in 2016, the case was closed for good. It is likely that it will never be known what happened to D.B. Cooper. After taking off from Salouche, an airstrip in Libya, this B-24D Liberator faced its first and last flying mission. It was April 4th, 1943, when the Lady Be Good, preparing to carry its 9-member crew, the 514th Squadron, would eventually break away from the rest of the group to disappear into the sands. Unfortunately for the team, the strong winds in the Sahara Desert caused some large sandstorms that reduced the pilots' visibility so that they were never able to reach their destination. Because they had realized they flew past their destination, they continued onwards, flying south. After many hours, the plane began to run out of fuel, and it is believed that the crew all jumped out over the desert. For years, the disappearance remained a mystery. Many believed the aircraft crashed over the Mediterranean Sea, leading to a large search and rescue mission in the completely wrong area. When nothing was discovered, the case became a mystery. That is, until roughly 15 years later, when a British oil exploration team stumbled upon the crash while scouting locations. The aircraft was in remarkable shape, with many guns and even a radio still working. Because the military had no records of losing an aircraft in that area, no teams were sent to inspect it until many months later. This is when it was confirmed to be the remains of the Lady Be Good. A year later, the remains of most of the crew members were also discovered. They had survived the parachute landing and began walking, only to eventually die from starvation and dehydration. While the mystery of what happened seems to have a solid answer, the crew could have likely survived had they found the wreckage of the plane and used its working radio. Aviation mysteries are a scary topic. Thankfully, our technology has advanced to a point where air travel is one of the safest modes of transportation. Hopefully, we have learned from our mistakes and no more incidents like these transpire. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more just like it, be sure to click the link on screen now. And with that, thanks for watching and tune in next time.